I'm trying to promote people working on cars as much as they can themselves. Because you cannot depend on a shop to do it right. They just don't care anymore. I don't know what's going on out there. I can't hire good help. Bob can't hire good help. Les can't hire good help. Every business like AutoZone can't hire good help. So, what do you do? And the best love your car's going to get, and you can control what's going on if you do it yourself. And that's how I started out. I couldn't afford to take my car to the shop, and I started doing it myself. I found myself to be pretty good at it, so I went to automotive school. And I didn't like the first school. Went to the second school, which was the best in the country, thank God. And I aced everything. I would get the textbook and read it like a week before school. I'd go to a restaurant every night, read a couple chapters like a magazine. That's how you memorize stuff. You don't try to memorize it. You just read it. And then you know where it is in the book. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing this for 50 years now. It sounds crazy, but yes, it's 50 years. And I'm still learning stuff every day. Like which way the car steering goes out of the car. They don't put his over top of this trigger cam. We couldn't get it off to set his points. And I was like, wait a minute. I actually looked at a video that I filmed of another 74 that's used in a documentary. Best documentary on Bricklin. And I thought, yeah, that's a lot different. You know, it doesn't go there. I was trying to remember where it did go because it didn't have any references anymore. And it depends on whether it has an air pump or not an air pump. So, we put it in the right spot, and guess what? We worked on the ignition system. So, it took a half hour to get to where I could even set the points. So, anyway, when you start buying all this aftermarket equipment and sitting up the car and all that, you pretty much got to redesign the whole car around it. Coy, is that right? Redesign the whole thing, the chassis and all the brakes. You got 1,000 horsepower. You got
Coming over.
Quadruple the brakes on it and stuff
Going
like that.
to your room?
The stock is
Staying here.
That's all really need. Doesn't give you much bragging rights, but start talking torque.
Evening.
Power the unit at 351, you will get 400 foot-pounds of torque out of it. Maybe that does some good. It's not going to be bragging rights at a drag race, but it sure runs good. It gets 24 miles a gallon. It runs on regular. So, your car now. Yeah. I thought every time he got a hold of me when he was having trouble, he said I'm at the gas station again.
Howard?
I kept thinking, he's stopping an awful lot at the
Howard?
gas station. How much?
Yeah, just the one time in the shop. But
And then we got people dumping carburetors.
Texted
put
a few
other carburetors
times.
on. Don't do that. Take the original carburetor.
Talked to him on the
rebuild
phone
it.
just a
10
couple
times
times.
better. The Motorcraft, wrote a tech article about it in the Bricklin. There's a fuel plug that flies out. Gary Cronin had that happen on one of his AMCs.
But
Yep.
the other guy
And
that I know in
greases
St.
up the
Louis
distributor
that
and
has
gas
75 orange one,
and it will catch the car on fire.
Bob, Robert
So
Carmody,
it's a simple fix. And
He's
that's one of the best
trying to get his car in
carburetors that they ever put on the street.
with
That
Howard
Motorcraft
to try
carburetor. People are
to
jumping
get some work done on it,
stuff
and he's booked up almost for
Can't
Howard.
get the fuel line, can't get pinched by the airplane. Do not use K&N air filters. They let too much dirt through. I was getting close to all Ford engineers. They were always talking to me about TSBs. They said that the particle size that it allows through is too big to prevent engine damage. It will damage the rings. Yes.
All right, so I'm guilty as charged. K&N's what I've been using. I love them because you can put a 1-inch socket on and turn it easily. Is there any other brand that has them?
No. Air filters, not oil filters.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying
Yeah,
oil
they're oil filters. I don't know much about. So
Okay, all right.
I can tell you that FL1A fits the 74 AMCs beautifully, and it's a really good filter. A long time ago, saw a parts store, all the filters that they could possibly cut open, all the different brands were there in front of me. I could not believe how little paper is in some of them. Fram oil filters are about the worst.
Oh yeah,
And you look at different
quite
feed
my
testing
one
them.
too. It's like
That used to be the filter to buy back in the 70s, but no more. I don't know what happened to cutbacks. But the Motorcraft filters are very high quality. The FL300 is the one to use on the Ford. And anybody that needs it, I can get you the tech sheets on all the fluids that go in that car. Differential, grease, transmission fluid, filter, buying that jump drive, a lot of that stuff's out of date.
Yeah.
Did you guys know, remember the camshaft failures that everybody had? Well, you remember all that? Everybody was blaming it on Chinese camshafts?
Yeah.
That was from SP Oil, that's Sam Paul. It had too much detergent in it. The zinc, they reduced the zinc below 900 parts per million, and they put so much detergent in it, washed it off. No protection. Camshafts just went, gone. All the metal just shot through the engine, and you had to rebuild the whole thing. Now, SM Oil, they learned their lesson. 10W40 and higher has 1,200 parts per million. 1030, 530, it's only 900. Never put anything other than 10W40 or 2050 or 5W40. All those have the higher zinc. Do not add more zinc. So take those zinc bottles you were adding, well, they're done. Get rid of them. If you put too much zinc in the engine, it will kill the engine just as bad as not putting enough in it. It actually causes friction and heat and kills the oil. Isn't that crazy? So, most of us change our oil. Who changes their oil? Yep. Look for SN. If you got old oil on the shelf that's over a year old, you dump it out, it's got sediment at the bottom. Those are the additives. They died. They went in the bottom of the bottle. So you're putting in useless oil. So grandpa's oil, no. Don't use that stuff. Antifreeze, same thing. Keith Kozer worked for Peak Antifreeze for quite a while. And he could pull up any tech thing he wanted, whether they liked him to or not. And we were talking about green antifreeze has a 2-year lifespan, not 24,000 miles. It's 2 years. Remember, it has ore on the bottom. The 2 years happens first on a classic car. So, yeah. So if you got 40 classic cars in your collection, you got to change that antifreeze every 2 years. Yeah, now.
I've got 30 years on some of them.
Long life antifreeze, right? 10 year, 5 year. You know what that does? It says bye-bye to the solder in the radiator and the heater core. It just wipes them out. It eats solder. And if you have a painted engine, I made this mistake on a nice Chevy engine I painted. I put 5-year antifreeze in it. I had aluminum radiator. Didn't have the heater core in yet. It's filled out. It stains the paint so bad you have to repaint the engine. You can't get that stain out. So it has a different dye in it. I even had trouble on modern cars when I worked for Ford. If that red antifreeze or yellow or whatever color, you know, there's so many different ones now. It's ridiculous. Chrysler's got one, Mercedes, Lexus got one, all different pretty little colors. That gets on your paint, it won't come off. And that's so these mechanics, you go, oh, I see where it's leaking. And I saw what's sprayed all over, but I can't really figure out where it's coming from. So once the fan hits it, you know. So you pressure test. The green antifreeze every 2 years. And I'm overdue on my Bricklin, sorry. Don't get much time to work on that poor car, working on everybody else's. So anyway, they're pretty bulletproof cars. But when people get a hold of them and start doing funny stuff to them, that's when things go downhill fast. And the next guy comes in and puts his stuff on top of that stuff. And so a lot of that the last 2 days. We've spent 20 hours digging through the layers and layers and layers. And for the first time, you found yourself with a compartment behind the driver's seat that you could actually put stuff in. And I filled up a whole storage container full of wiring. And there's some people in this room. No, Bob's got it. Anyway, I remove more wiring than anything else on a Bricklin when it comes in the shop. They didn't need this. What's this for? Get this out of here. This is gonna catch on fire. Oh, this looks like some old mood lighting thing. Get it out of here. What kind of lighter plug is this? You know, there's better ways to do it. Nice and neat. So, air doors, best way to go. The hydraulic kills them. Some guy at a car show, I had air doors on my car and I thought I was gonna keep it for a while, but they failed 3 times. I got trapped, my mom got trapped, Kathy got trapped in the car. It was like every 3 months, the oil drips on the brushes of the motor because they got it turned the wrong direction. It's supposed to go in the back before it convertible. It's not supposed to be in running doors and turn sideways. So air doors will protect your doors. There's been lots of other doors out there, but if you don't have an air cushion, first guy comes up to your car and says, "How do these doors work?" and starts pulling down on them, you just broke your door. So, yeah, some of you have had that happen. So anyway, maintenance, love, attention, tires. I wouldn't keep tires more than 5 years on a car. Every tire is date coded. You guys need any of that information. And there's even 4 tires out there to fit these cars. The VF Goodrich looks the part. It's a damn good tire made by Michelin, but there's actually better tires for all season traction if you live in like Vail, Colorado. You might want those on your car instead. So, brakes. Every brake pad has friction coefficient numbers that tell you how good that car is going to stop. Have anybody seen those on a brake pad? No. It's on factory brake shoes on the back of the Bricklin. It says FF. That's a pretty good friction coefficient. You can look it up online, get it on your cell phone there, look up the brake pad friction, edge codes, friction codes. Racing pads, they got all kinds of different ones. Some of them are too aggressive. But since this is a low production brake pad and brake shoe, manufacturers are not going to put their best effort into it. So it's very hard for us to even get the right friction coefficient to make these cars drivable on modern streets. Everybody's slamming on their brakes. I don't know how many times you hit the brakes on the highway. It's supposed to be going 70. No, now we're going 20. Now we're going 40. You got to be able to bring that car down quick. And the original brake shoes on the car were organic, good for 2 hard stops, and then you got a hard pedal and it does not stop after that. I had it happen too. But if you want the right pads, you got to read the number. If it says EE or EF or any of that stuff, you don't really want it. You want FF, most desired. The first number is 200 degrees and the second number is 600 degrees. So it tells you how well it stops cold and how well it stops hot. Crazy stuff, huh? You go into a tire store with the information I'm going to argue with on tires, and they're going to hate you. I want to sell these on here because I make more money on the phone. How about our house brand? Yeah. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But if you know the numbers, there's traction number lettering is wet traction, not dry traction. There is no dry traction number for a tire. It's wet only. But good wet traction is an indication that it might be good in the dry. I used to do a lot of SCCA racing, and ball racing tires were pretty darn good in the rain. I won a lot of races in the rain on those things because that rubber's so grippy, it didn't care about the water. But for speeds over 60 miles an hour, now you got a problem hydroplaning. So, but we were all low speed, parking lot, club solo 2 racing. So, not for the track. So, let's see. I could start off with questions not to ask me. How do I get my hydraulic doors working again? Don't. Don't do that. They're a novelty and they're good for a museum, but not for if you're going to use the car. Now, what do I do with the parts you just took off my car? Keep them. If you change to a 4-barrel, keep the old 2-barrel and the old intake manifold. Because someday these cars could be $1 million cars, and those parts are going to be gold. Well, they're already over 100,000 for a lot of them. And there's a lot of them that I would say are easily 120, 130. And these cars should be $250,000 cars by now, but they haven't been publicly gotten out there. And I've been trying to get the public to learn about these cars because they are such a people car. I mean, curved grass design, all these human elements in the car. I mean, it's sexier than the
Problem
60s
is fit and
Corvette.
finish.
You know, they were
Problem
pretty
is the
darn
fit and
sexy.
finish.
So, and what that means, it's a human car, not
Production does not mean high value.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Because nobody remembers, nobody fell in love, nobody had a bad childhood when they was young.
Just like nobody wants grandma's great grandma's good china anymore, and Hummels, and
But I thought, whatever, flips your skirt. But anyway, so he says, hey, my wife's here. I want to buy your car from you. And I said, I'm not selling it. I don't want to sell it. He goes, I got to show this to her anyway. And I was like, you're just talking about all these girls. Now you're bringing your wife over here. And she's going nuts over it. He's like, see?
Both of them don't have a difference.
But little kids like it, women like it, men like it, old people, young people. Everybody's enamored by these cars. So they're a lot of fun. Grab one of these. and
I
make
saw
them
my
get rid of
dog
your
say,
Mustang,
no one
a few other
for
cars.
sale for $23,500.
I don't think I gave up a GT. I drive it all. And you gotta drive these cars. If you, people ask me, how many cars are out there? How many cars
Park the
are
lorry.
out there? Take a guess. 1,500, 1,800, those are the numbers that I come up with, but I noticed that more and more are coming out of fields
It's
and
just
farm
a car.
lines, so I'm gonna move my number up to 18. Which is pretty good survival.
Volkswagen.
That's
It's
just
hard.
my opinion, it doesn't mean anything.
134s.
That wasn't based on any studies funded
Axle
by
on the rear.
universities. So, which, anyway, how many are driving is the next question. How much? I Okay, but I asked them, how far do you think that will go? And they're like, you talking cross country or drive to the grocery store? I hope it doesn't break down. Problem is, if you don't drive that car a lot, you won't learn what it needs. You make a hit list. When we get done restoring a car, you drive it. And you drive it easy, you drive it hard, you corner, you brake, you go to the grocery store with it, load it with stuff. See what it does. You live with that car a little bit, and then you're gonna come up with a list. So, I didn't know that tire comes up through the steering column until I took a trip, a 100-mile trip, my first 100-mile trip in the car. And it's a hot day like today, and I'm going, man, it just feels humid in here. The faster I go, the more humid it gets. And then I'm like, this ignition tumbler is getting really hot up here. There's no electrical up there. It's just a lock. And I thought, how in the heck is this getting so hot? Next thing you know, the air conditioner quit blowing air, but the fan's running. It turned into a block of ice. Because too much humidity, and I kept turning the air conditioner up because I wasn't feeling good. And all of a sudden, I said to Kathy, I said, I know what's wrong, the air conditioner froze. I said, there's a Dairy Queen, let's go get some ice cream. I parked it at the top of the hill in the parking lot. It got the whole parking lot wet with a little river going down to the curb for the road. And I was like, wow, what is doing that? So when I got home, I drove slower on the way home, and I don't like to do that. So I got home, and I started looking around, I was like, there's a hole in the bottom of the steering column, and I blew air through it. I think John Lodge was working with me then, which is good and bad sometimes. But anyway, he was there, I gave him every chance in the world. And we did work on stuff together. He knew enough to get him in trouble, and I knew enough to get him out of trouble.
Really?
So, anyway, fun relationship. I had him blow air, and I was feeling around. It comes out from the bottom of the column, top of the column, through the turn signal, through the steering wheel, it comes out there. That's a Saginaw column used in millions of GM cars. They have the column shifter. The only thing they change is the neck. So you go from a column shifter, 3-speed, or an automatic shifter, and it goes through that hole. There's a lever, and there's gasketing in there, keeps it bleeding. If you have a 4-shift, they just change the collar and put a piece of foam in the bottom, and that thing's about 2 inches away from the exhaust off the Bricklin, and guess what happens to the foam? And then the parking brake fluid, that's another good one. That rubber doesn't hold up. That's why I had to think outside the box to make a metal one. The funny part is, I didn't know my arm was burning until I rolled down the window and caused a negative pressure in the car, and I was like, yikes. What the hell is that? So,
It's a car.
Working on a lot of cars,
20 years
they
ago.
have sheet metal on the floor and they have one little hole where the cable goes through, and I thought, well, that's the route we're gonna have to take. So.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about your battery issue. You said you didn't have a
We make a
handle
lot of
on it.
parts.
Could have made a sling out of something.
Parts are getting scarce.
Could have made a sling
Parts
out
are
of
getting
something,
really
I guess, and
expensive.
put it on.
Shops are getting
If I
expensive.
put
Another
it
good reason
for
to
the
do it
battery,
yourself.
yes.
I got 28 videos out there.
Oh,
Have you guys all
yeah.
seen them?
Because it's only about that much.
Because I got customers who tell me they're great to fall asleep to because they have a soothing voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah.
But yeah, if I was smart like
Anyway.
7 years ago,
But he's right, I fall asleep.
I just push through something or
Anyway,
belt
it's
or
good
whatever or
information you
something,
use. Yeah.
and then you could have just
And I like the ones
I
that
didn't
generate
think about it.
chapters, you can go to the parking lot. All
I was
those
also
videos were on different
younger and
times,
smarter
little
than I
AI
was.
thing that generates that stuff, that didn't come up with that stuff in the early days.
no.
But I get calls from guys with Mustangs saying, is that the same deal with my Mustang? I love your video, I wish you could put in my Mustang, and I found out there is differences. 60s York compressors aren't the same. So then a guy calls me up and wants a brake booster for a 2005 Lincoln Aviator. Going, no. Then another guy calls me up and says, I want air headlights for my Pontiac. I said, what kind of Pontiac? It was a Trans Am or something, 80s Trans Am or something. Oh my God. So, the more stuff you can do yourself, the better. And I can give you all the materials you need. I'm constantly publishing stuff. Where's Stuart? Was he here?
No.
I gave you 6 tech articles. And
Well, he's not.
And then, like, if you buy the junk drive and you look at my old, what oil do you use in your car? Don't read it. It's out of date. That stuff changes all the time. So go with the current stuff. Call me. I'll send you the current stuff. I'd like to get it in the magazine. This it supersedes the tech article from 2022 or something. Whenever I wrote it. It's amazing. And so batteries. What do we do with the batteries in that car? Did you guys know they have battery savers that'll shut off your battery if the voltage gets too low, and you have a remote control where you can actually disconnect your whole car? They've had those for a long time, but they're getting hard to find. And I found a good one. I can forward that to anybody that wants it. I've seen Bricklins with disconnect switches underneath the car, so if you hit something, they turn off. Yeah, I've seen it all. But anyway, you can, if you're gonna do something like that, the disconnects I replace all the time because they do not hold up. That's a lot of current going through. I see people using them on solar systems. Oh my God, don't use that cheap Chinese disconnect on there. Fuel pressure regulators. I caught one of my cars on fire with one of those and shot it all over the alternator until it decided to spark and catch on fire. Whew, that was a mess. I never use those again. The little chrome ones, the round ones for carburetors, say 1 through 10 or something. Don't use those. They don't help. Set the flow up. You know, I'm gonna do carburetor tuning videos. We use a wideband O2. I'll even show you how to make the little adapter. It's not expensive to get the equipment to do that. So if you have 5 classic cars, you want to know if that carburetor's right, that'll tell you. Is it safe? Am I safe on my engine? You know, it'll tell you. So, and then you can even set the idle mixture by the way the engine responds to it. And I learned this from 1973 cars. It said 50 RPM past lean roll is where you set the idle. What the heck does that mean? You lean it, you richen it up to where it runs at its maximum RPM without chugging. Most of them have limiters in to keep you from putting too much fuel in. Back it off until you get a 50 RPM drop. And they wanted you to go a quarter turn more. But I actually found out going a quarter turn richer always gave you the right mixture. So you get that 50 RPM drop, and you bring it back up a quarter turn. Simple. That with no equipment, you're going to have a car that no longer is pukey or stumbly or idles rough. Yeah, I go to car shows all the time.
That was all the
And it
information.
smells like raw gasoline
That's
everywhere I
right.
go. It's
I'll-
like,
I'll-
come on, guys. Yeah, but I gotta keep your brakes to
Sharp
save
on
the
that.
engine. Like, no, you're washing the oil off the rings. And you got that big cam in there, that's already doing that. A camshaft is nothing more than an EGR valve wide open as far as the way the engine idles. So if you accidentally have the EGR hooked up wrong, I got vacuum diagrams for everybody that wants to straighten out all your vacuum hoses. Did you know there's an overheat protect on both engines that go in the Bricklin? Do you know what it is? You learned what that is.
I'm so tired of it.
He was pretty tired by then. That was straight 20 hours on that car. It's that little vacuum switch on top of the thermostat housing on both cars. The vacuum advance supplies advance above the throttle plate, so when you move the throttle, it advances the timing. That gives you fuel economy like crazy. If you disconnect it, you get bad gas mileage. Do not use a centrifugal distributor. Oh my God, no. You have to have a vacuum advance for good fuel economy, good throttle response, and reduced combustion temperature. So what do we have a problem with on Bricklins? Running hot. I can make a car overheat just by retarding the time. Because the flame goes down the cylinder walls, all it's doing is heating water. Like
This is the
heat
problem with
gun,
that.
so
There's like no grill
it doesn't run
to let
no
air,
power.
right?
So, the EGR valve back in the 70s was not as precisely controlled as it is on a modern car. They had flow sensors,
Yeah.
temperature sensors, it computerizes it, you get just the right amount, and these cars run great, your cars run great.
Yeah.
But the old cars, they made them run like crap. So, my best advice is stick a BB in the hose.
Do what?
Yep.
What?
Then, on the Ford engine, there's an Allen wrench you can stick in the vacuum advance. So you get a vacuum tester and make sure the vacuum advance starts to move at 6.5 inches of mercury. That's the same time the power valve kicks in. When the power valve's on, you should have no advance. But when you're on light throttle, lean mixtures, cruising speeds, you want fuel economy, you want lean mixtures, and you don't want stumbling. So you have to have it right. But with the EGR, they've over-advanced it to make up for slow combustion, poor combustion, because they're sticking exhaust in the intake stream. So here you are reducing emissions and making the car run like crap and giving you bad gas mileage. Sounds like a government plan. Also, now the 74 doesn't have that, but so far I've seen those spark knock from just using the settings that were already there, which meant they were using 1973 vacuum advances on a 74 AMC to save money, and the cars just ran crappy with the EGR. So put the BB in the hose, adjust the vacuum advance on the Ford, and it will run perfect. As a matter of fact, you just touch the throttle and that car's gonna slip the tires and jump. That's amazing. If you don't believe me, I'll let you drive my car. So, set the timing at 12 degrees on the Ford, 10 degrees on the AMC. That's slightly higher. Because low compression engines love ignition timing. So now you got throttle response, torque, fuel economy, and you didn't go to Summit Racing for any of it. So, get the carburetor set right, runs good. It does help. Most of these cars are mass produced. Even a 67 Pontiac GTO, you can make them run better. It's not hard. Tuning is everything. They do it with a laptop now.
Yeah.
But you know, an Allen wrench, a screwdriver, an O2 sensor, and some jets, it's a lot cheaper than buying a $3,000 tuning program to go on a $1,000 laptop. Old school. I love it. So, anyway, any brake system questions? What kind of brake fluid? I had a car with a clogged brake line on the crossmember to the front. The right front wheel would not get brake fluid to it. The rear brakes would not get brake fluid to them. The proportioning valve was clogged. And it's from that old crappy brake fluid that the cars came with originally. use synthetic. DOT3, use DOT4, it corrodes the metal. It's only for racing and motorcycles. DOT3, synthetic. Flush all that stuff out. It will rot your hoses, make them go shut. When I first got my Bricklin, the right front brake didn't work. I stuck a long drill bit through it, ran the drill, put it back on the car, and fluid came out. Now that's not how you fix it, that's how you test it. So then I got on the phone and got into parts books and started figuring out what brake lights it was. So
So this question, of course, the DOT 3 did report. I had no idea there was a synthetic, so how
Yeah.
easy is that to find? Is it just,
it says synthetic right on the bottom.
Okay.
If it doesn't say synthetic, just put it back on the shelf. And the old fluid would attract moisture like crazy. So if your grandpa gives you a bottle of brake fluid, he
That's
uses
why
half
they
of
say
it,
always
throws the other
use
half
the
away.
bottle.
It's half water,
Yeah.
so it's hygroscopic. Ethanol, same thing.
Ugh.
These gas tanks rot at the top. Oh, who's got a question here?
These new proportioning valves are better than the ones that came on Bricklin that you bought on the shelf.
Yeah, they're brass.
Yeah, you told me I'm supposed to keep the old one and fix it.
You can, if it's good working and not really. Yeah. But both will work equally well if it's working properly. Now, what's the proportion valve?
It adjusts the amount of brake we need for the front, for the back.
Okay. Yeah, it's supposed to balance, but it's really not the way they do it on Bricklin. It's it keeps you from locking up the rear brakes. And it limits, if you slap that pedal down, it slows down the brake fluid to the rear brakes because they're self-energizing, which is what they did before power brakes. You didn't have to push the pedal very hard and the car stopped. But if you had a foreign car that had a non-self-energizing, you had to stand on the pedal. So, but then they came out with power brakes on everything. It's pretty wild. So the valve that's in a Bricklin is actually called a combination valve. You can change it without removing any part off that car other than that valve. It's actually pretty easy. It's on the back of the left front fender. It has a metering valve to keep you from locking up the front wheels on ice. Isn't that funny? It's because it's just brakes. It has a pressure differential valve, so the system is split between the front and rear. So if your rear system fails, it kicks the valve over, turns the brake light on the dash to show you have a brake failure. So then there's a proportioning valve that limits pressure to the rear under quick brake applications. So if your proportioning valve is bad, boy, you just go easy on the brake pedal, bring it down gradually, like a race car driver. Now, if you have axle fluid leaking, and these have separate, I wrote an article on this, they have a separate seal. If that axle fluid leaks and gets on the wheel bearing, it will ruin the bearing on the axle. And most restoration shops and a lot of Bricklin owners have not even paid attention to the rear axle bearings because they have their own grease on it. Actually, you take them out with a tool called a slugger. It's a body shop tool. It's got a giant weight on it. You just pump it once and the axle comes right out. And you don't have to separate the hub. Don't mess with the hub. You ruin it. You just clean and repack the bearing by hand. That outer seal is a dust shield. It doesn't really matter if it's sealed or not. It's not going to do anything bad. And then you have to replace the inner seal to keep the axle fluid off the bearing. You don't want it on the bearing. If it was a Chevy 12-volt rear end or Ford 9-inch, the axle fluid inside, okay, it's a weirdo Dana 20 rear axle. So, it has lightweight axles, which makes the car handle better. The tubes are small, but it can't handle huge amounts of horsepower. It'll take a 390 or a 401, but if you soup it up, it's not going to work. You gotta go bigger. Got a 9-inch in his 9-inch Ford, but you have to go that big when you got 500 horsepower roughly. So, anyway, rear leaf springs, manual transmission cars keep rear leaf springs. Oh, there's the article right there. There you go.
Here's your instruction.
That's it, right there. Yep. And they're pretty concise, and it tells you, you have to set the end play on the axles, so you take a shim out, put a shim in, hold it down, try it again. And when it's right, you're done. 10 years, you don't have to touch that truck. So, yeah. And it's nice to be able to drive a car across country, not have to do anything to it. If your butt can stand it, that's the problem. I'm getting older and I'm starting to have trouble with that now. So, what was, something else?
You're saying rear relief springs?
Four-speed, yeah, they get banged. That traction bar is in the wrong place, it binds up real bad, and there's no place to put it, right? So you have to use a half leaf. Springs are banged with a half leaf, will get you right back there. But, you know, I've got dimensions for it, you have to make your own, you gotta get a pickup truck leaf of a certain thickness. I've got all the information, I gave it to Coy and his. So, now, the front springs, heavy engine, you can put a thicker pad under the spring, it'll bring the height up a little bit, and you, like I said, you put a aluminum intake, just paint it to look factory, take off the other rock. That's, I don't like having that stuff on there, I'd rather have it look factory, you know.
Well, the old school way was to put 75 springs under the 74.
Sometimes that's too much.
Yep, it's been good, it's working.
Sometimes it isn't, yeah, it just depends, so. Yep, you can put the 75 springs on, but what if you can't find it anymore?
That's true.
So you gotta have option B. So I try the pad first, see what happens. Sometimes it's just enough. Other times you might wanna do some weight changes. We have aluminum water pumps, you got aluminum intakes. We always put the aluminum pump on the 351s now, just to get some weight off that car too. So I wrote an article on all that stuff, how to put your Bricklin on a diet. Those traction bar brackets, 12 pounds, unsprung weight. Terrible. You can actually get that car to grip on a bumpy road a lot better by removing those things and putting U-bolts in.
That's what most of us have done.
Yeah, there's still a whole lot of those Bricklins out there, those 1800 that don't have it.
Anybody wants a set of those traction bars? I have like 3 sets.
I keep, somebody painted one up real pretty and everything on his restoration. He bought the U-bolts from me. He goes, I won't need these anymore. Do you want this? And I said, yeah. I'd like that for a paperweight to show customers. How heavy they are. Also, tire diameter and brakes. If you get the wrong diameter tire, you can do the math and figure it out. It's 235, 60, 15. Means you take 235 divided by 60%. Or times, 235 times 60%, and that will give you the cross-sectional, or no, that'll give you the height of the tire. Cross-sectional false width is 235. You can look this stuff up on the internet and make yourself the doctoral of tire diameter, you know, anesthesiologist or whatever. But anyway, you can get the tire diameter if you go +1, +2. +1's not so good, so you don't get many tire sizes. +2 is better. But it does make the road rougher because all those performance tires have a stiff sidewall, so it's stiffer to keep it from shrinking. And on YouTube, there's this real cool video of Michelin testing tires in test vehicles, and those things roll over like crazy. It was pretty funny watching all that. They actually got all this lab equipment in some sort of, what's that car? It has the weird hydraulic suspension. Citrons. Yeah. So, but anyway, AC questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I've got the old R12, of course it doesn't work. What do I gotta do to get over to R134?
You don't.
What do I do?
If you did that way, you gotta buy a condenser that's our 134A and it has to have a cross flow of 2 tanks.
So I have an original R12 system that's just depleted, so I don't have air conditioning.
You can make that system work just as good as the 134A with all the proper stuff. Now here's how you get a 134A properly
12.
done to a Bricklin.
Better
You
fluid.
remove the compressor, drain the oil, change to pack oil. You change all the hoses to barrier hoses because
Expensive,
134A will
expensive,
leak right through those hoses in 2 months. The molecules are too small. R12 is a much bigger molecule size. And the oil actually seals the hoses, but it still makes it through on it. So it has mineral oil. If you just put 134A in there, you're gonna take the dust can, turn it into sand, and it'll throw it in the compressor.
Yep.
And it'll leak out in 2 months. It just doesn't work. 134A, because of the condenser, you can put 80% in the system, and the pressures go through the roof to 350 PSI. The compressor can't take it, the belt flies off.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. Now, if you have a cross-flow condenser on the front, you can switch it to 133. But if you don't change every single hose in the car, which is the B word, you gotta unhook everything on the inside of the car and the whole 9 yards, flush out the evaporator. It's a nightmare. It's so much easier to use 12A refrigerant, which replaces R12 and has a better heat exchange, lower pressures, and it doesn't leak. The refrigerant in my car is over 5 years old, that system, and we're freezing
So I can just put 12A in it right now,
with the new front seal.
with the new front seal on the.
Yeah, because that's where it's gonna leak out.
Okay.
So you change the seal, make sure all your fittings are tight, and somebody didn't take it apart while they were restoring something and then just put it back together. 100% of the cars that come in a shop are empty. So all they have to do is make sure all the fittings are tight, make sure air flows through, because there's a check valve on the Bricklins, 74 and 75. When the compressor shuts off, it allows the high side to stay trapped between the check valve and the expansion. And that lets you have refrigeration while the compressor is on. It makes your system more efficient. So it's a really good system built for a station wagon. And these things, I've got video of it going down to minus 10 degrees. I did Mark's car and it was blowing, like you open up a deep freeze and the smoke comes out, that's what came out of his. I was like, wow. So, don't put a boost fan on the car. Put a boost fan on a car is like putting a piece of plywood in front of the radiator. It just doesn't do. That fan that's on the car will more CFM than anything else you'll ever find. There's no electric fans that can match it. But you gotta have a good fan shroud. I had a Bricklin with a chunk, 2-inch chunk missing out of the very bottom. Just one little chunk. And we got done with his car, he's driving it down the highway, he's driving it back to New York. And he says, this thing's starting to get hot. I said, really? And he goes, I said, we did everything right. At least
My
it's
car
hot."
doesn't have a fan shroud either.
Well, I told him, turn around, come back. I said, you have to turn off the AC.
In the
Because it's, you climb up to 210, that's too high.
Yeah.
So he came back, and we're sitting there going, what the heck is wrong with this? And I looked, I go, well, remember I told you to
Yeah, I haven't
put a
looked.
fan
I
shroud
haven't
on there?
looked
It's
yet.
missing a chunk, but I really seriously didn't think that would reduce the fan capacity that much. Well, if you talk to engineers that work with HVAC systems, inducting and fans and all that, oh yeah, that's what did it. Put a new fan shroud on, had no problems all the way to New York. Hot weather, I mean, it was really hot when we drove. The fan clutch is a dog. Gotta change it. To make the EPA, it's called a, what is it? It's a drive cycle test. It was designed based on the hills of San Francisco. And you have to drive the car so many miles an hour at this speed, and then go uphill, and then go downhill, so it's accelerating, decelerating, you know, full power, light power, and it had to pass a certain amount of emissions. Well, the way they did that was make the cooling fan turn on at 210 degrees. That's not good, especially now it boils the gasoline in the carburetor. So we replaced that with a fan that turns on at 180, and you have to put a 180 thermostat in the car because carburetors can't handle the modern fuels. So 180 fixes it, and a 180 degree fan clutch means when that radiator saturates, that fan kicks on. So no more creep. Now, the original radiators still aren't going to be big enough for real severe driving conditions in hot weather. That's why we designed the aluminum one for it. And it does work. It works great. I was in traffic jams and everything else today, AC on full blast, never turned anything off, 180 the whole way. I think at the most, when I was going 100 and something miles an hour, it was at 190. That's just because of the heat being generated. So in other words, if you want to bump your car up 200 horsepower, you're only going to get another maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour top speed out of it. You know, that's because you've already got 175 with almost 300 foot-pounds of torque. And what's the top speed of a Bricklin?
Does it really go as fast as what the speedometer says on it?
Around
127.28, so
No, that was with overdrive.
What?
That wasn't top speed.
Well, how fast were you going at that moment?
No, that's all the faster I went on one trip. So, I think it's around 117 or something. And why is that? That motor should be better than that, right? The cam, got no overdrive. There's no overdrive. The camshaft and the heads and the exhaust and everything only breathe to a certain amount, where if you exceed that, you have no more power. So it RPMs itself out. Now you put an overdrive in it and leave it in fourth gear, it'll go up to 135, possibly 140. If it's tuned the way I tune it. So if not, you'll get to 120, no problem. 130, yeah, probably. But here's the problem with the Bricklin. It catches air underneath the car so bad, it gets goofy over 90 miles an hour. How many people have had theirs over 90 miles an hour? Doesn't it feel light in the front end? If you have a scoop, you can add another spoiler below that, and it will fix that problem. At 100 miles an hour, if you were reading a book, you wouldn't know we were going faster than 80 in my car. And I put that on one other car. It's not something we normally sell, because most people don't drive them that hard. So if you have the air dam from the early production cars, you know, the early 75s and 74s, that actually works better aerodynamically than the scoop. The scoop is not good for aerodynamics.
Have you seen so I got the Terry Tanner.
It's
all of the doubles.
Yep. I've seen a lot of them get killed by roads.
Yeah,
Dips.
mine's been wrong.
Everybody's gets hit. Now, that thing has two openings, but it still doesn't fix that air under the car problem.
Okay.
So you have to add to it. I would just put a standard scoop on it. And Bob hasn't reproduced it. He's here. He has the reproduction ones, and you can find original ones wherever you get them. You know, I don't even know if we have any left or not.
So that helps aerodynamics.
My theory is, why
It
don't you
keeps
work
air
so
out of
hard?
the car because the way I designed it has the flat part.
Fast car,
Yeah.
fast, when you could just do fast,
Yeah.
fast car.
Same thing with a certain motorcycle I used to own.
Yeah, it's like trying to make a Volkswagen thing do 200 mile an hour. Why? Go buy a car that'll do 200 mile an hour. Or it can easily be made.
Yeah, you build your scoop flat around the corner, or scoop. You build your air dam, and
Viper I got.
I built it out of a
The
Chevy
Viper I
truck.
got,
Yeah.
do 205.
Four-wheel drive,
It
long,
has a
air dam.
stoop.
And I cut it up, make it into three pieces,
Also the
bolt it on,
U-joint on
and
the
it looks
drive
great.
shaft.
Take a look at my
Who
car. You want to know how
engineer
to
got
do
the
it? I
brains
got
to
the
go,
patterns.
a U-joint
You
spinning
make it
on
yourself.
the drive shaft
We can
creates
cut one out for you and send it to you. You know?
turbulence. Let's put
do as much as you
a
can
scoop
yourself.
right here, and
It always
we're
works
doing
out
5
better.
miles an hour.
How do you guys
It's like,
rebuild a brake booster?
who even think stuff like that?
It worked, didn't it?
Yeah, I followed
Kinds
your,
of things in that wind tunnel, smoke.
I guess.
And if you don't know where to get that tool, we actually make the tool kit for it. It's like $30.
Like it'd be like trying to make
You know, you
a
can always
old
send it back to
Volkswagen
the credit.
Mustang do too.
Let somebody
Do
else
a
use it.
million
Keep it.
things to it.
Yeah. That's, cause that, you know, I can't rebuild all of them. And you know, I have automotive instructors showing those videos to their kids now.
Just a
I didn't have fun.
$200
I was like, wow, okay.
Why?
He goes, there's nobody that teaches this stuff. Your videos
And not
are accurate.
fly.
You're
I go
really accurate.
crazy.
Okay, good.
Wow,
Hopefully
who would have
everybody
thunk?
comes away with all his fingers. I was putting a trash bin in the door the other day, and I needed some stitches after that. Yeah, I got cut. So, at any rate, this is, I don't know if I've gone down the path that any of you wanted to hear, or how many people have put to sleep here, or
Question on the board.
another question? Yep.
Like really go.
Uh-huh.
One's personal goals.
Yeah.
FF. Yeah.
Those need to be bedded.
I always been brake pads, just do a bunch of light applications and then a little bit heavier at the end. But what I do is I have my right foot foot on the gas pedal, left foot just touching it once in a while, because if I keep a higher road speed, it keeps the brakes cool. So, also, it doesn't hurt. The rotors on a Bricklin are good for a number of brake jobs. They're thick. Modern cars, one time, you're done. For lightweight. The Vendex brakes have really heavy rotors, so they're worse for handling, but they're actually a bigger, better brake. You can convert to that, but you gotta change the wheel bearings and everything. Me and Bob can.
Is that Bendix, he said?
So, anyway, I have to put those on because I really didn't need it. But once again, if you're driving your car at top speed, anything over 130 on any car, your brakes are useless unless they're race car brakes. So you just let the air slow you down and then you get the brakes. Keep that in mind when you decide to have some fun like that.
What about, fuel grades, Howard? Premium, regular, mid-grade?
No, that's not it, top tier. Top tier gasoline, Costco has it. It'll say on the pump, I think Shell and some of the big names. It'll be top tier, has detergents in it, keeps your valves clean, keeps your fuel injectors clean, keeps whatever car you're using, always use top tier gasoline. If you go to, where's that place where you got that crappy gas from? Love's Truck Stops? Yeah, that's not good. Shouldn't have done that, it was boiling on the highway.
Which octane?
180 degrees. Anyway, top tier gas, if you have, car with higher compression, if you bump the power up.
But
you
it-
gotta put premium in.
But it doesn't matter which octane, just 87.
Oh, yes, this is a deadly one
Older
here.
engines
Yeah, higher.
Gas is summer grade.
because of the compression. He knows Bricklins are now the one
The
compression.
boiling point,
It
they call it volatility. Okay,
keep the
put it in a
valves
pot,
clean.
it boils at 70 degrees in the winter
Just a
time.
lot of stuff like
That
that.
doesn't work. If you fill your car up in the winter, park it, and then get it out on the first hot day of summer, it's gonna run like crap, and you're gonna go
77
buy fuel
miles.
because the carburetor's not gonna work.
Had the 302 in it.
So,
Beautiful car.
but I wouldn't, a lot of the fuel injected systems, aftermarkets, are good for 5 years, maybe you get more.
My dad buys it for me.
They aren't as robust as factory
Shifter in the car.
engineered
Or
Ford, GM, Chrysler fuel injection systems,
It's
because they have to last
Memphis.
100,000 miles.
Her husband was a
Federal
driver.
standard, yeah.
They started
Yeah,
running regular
emissions.
gas and within 2 years.
Ethanol-free gas
she
can save your
calls
gas
dad
tank.
and says, the motor's
Because
hot.
it attracts moisture. The additive for the stable stuff we put in there, puts a film on the top that keeps water from getting in the gas, and a lot of people say stable doesn't really work as
Because
good
Linda
as it's
had to
supposed to.
stop. We
I
thought
don't really
something spun a
know, I
bearing.
put it in anyway.
Stuck on the crank.
But
Get it all the way home. Get it
yeah,
in the
but I mean,
garage. Take all the
yeah,
spark
fill up
plugs
the
out.
tank, get rid of the question. You know what happens in your gas tank? You see those terrariums where they
They'll
rain
only go
inside this
3/4
little
of the
tank
way.
full of vegetation and
Get the
moisture,
starter.
and it makes
Dad
clouds.
hit the
That's what's
starter.
happening in your gas tank
Carbon
every time
came
the
out
temperature
and a
changes
cloud
with
out of
ethanol.
the spark
It absorbs the
plug.
water, comes out, makes a cloud, and rains, and then the top of your tank
Dust.
rusts out.
The whole,
In the old days, water was
cloud
really hot in
of
the
brown
tank,
dust.
and we didn't put the
You just cranked it over for a few minutes till the
water
dust would
remover,
come out of the
what's
motor. That's all it was. Carbon
Yeah.
was built up in the motor
That would-
to the
it's alcohol, it's some sort of water,
pistons.
but those tanks would rot in the bottom.
Because she ran, her
Back in
husband
the
was,
day.
like I say, a blower.
We're going back 30, 40 years.
Let's just put that cheap shit.
Yeah.
And also ethanol makes you get
Could have handled
about
it.
10% worse fuel
Couldn't
economy.
handle the carbon buildup.
Yep, and less horsepower. So, in Florida, we were having trouble with gasoline boiling at Malcolm's birthday party, and they had some ethanol-free gas there. And if we put that in, it's still boiling. And it has to do with the butane content. Oil companies can't get rid of butane. So they lobby the federal government to make more volatility rules, and butane makes it more volatile, it gives a worse fuel economy too, less BTUs per pound. You want thermal energy to make the car get those tires squealing and get good gas mileage. So the butane content is super high in the wintertime. And if you look online, it'll tell you the cutoff dates. I think it's May 31st. Is that right? You guys looking up cutoff dates on that?
Look up top tier gas.
Top tier gas, yeah. Yeah, you should do that. We're consumers, we should be able to make those choices. I hate it when we're just, a bunch of puppets out there. Gas is gas. No, it isn't. And the only difference between regular and premium is its resistance to detonation. And what's detonation? Open air cleaners under Bricklin. That underhood temperature is so hot, if you don't have a cold air induction system, or a way to get away from the left-hand side of the radiator, you gotta have your input on the right-hand side, because all the hot air from the fan rotation goes off the left side and up the steering column. So, where am I here? Lost track of what I was doing.
Detonation.
Yeah, intake air temperatures being high will cause detonation. Did you know that there's a temperature sensor on the 351s and the AMC engine that controls that flap in the air cleaner to the stovepipe? Now, you have to have the stovepipe for temperatures below 40 degrees because it will cause ice formation on the carburetor. The reason why carburetors give you higher horsepower than fuel injection, you have latent heat, latent heat vaporization. It's the same as air conditioning. You have restriction, pressure drop, fluid changing from liquid to gas. That's how air conditioning works. So it's a way of mildly supercharging the engine. It makes the air denser. It's 32-degree temperature drop. That's why I love carburetors. And a lot of people still, that's all they race with. You get more power. So, and cool intakes. How many people spend money on cold air intakes on modern cars? Yeah, a lot of money. There's a reason for it, So if you have denser air going in the engine, that raises compression, gives you more power, and it gets rid of the chance of detonation. Detonation will just blast the pistons up, break the rings, cause all kinds of problems. So no open air cleaners. Put the factory ones back on. If you don't have that snorkel tube on the 75s, me and Bob got them. I don't have any left, but we got them.
On my 74, once upon a time, there was almost like a chimney stack going from the bottom of the.
That's the stovepipe. Yeah. It preheats the air. Like airplanes, if they try to take off, they have to keep the carburetor heat
Yeah,
on.
mine's
The
gone.
carburetor's icing right when full power taking off. Well, on your car, it'll come to a stop sign and die. I've actually crawled out from under I crawled out, looked under the hood, and saw ice on carburetor throttles.
So I don't have one.
Yeah.
Arizona, so I don't really have.
It's too dry. You don't have
Clock
to worry
went
about
off.
it. It's too dry.
Somebody
too hot.
donated the clock.
That's for temperatures below 40 with higher humidity. Yep. Nobody's seen them.
I have,
No, those are pictures of a gas tank. He's collecting money and there's no gas tanks being sold.
Okay.
That's kind of scary. I hope he does. 'Cause
GoFundMe.
I don't really want to make gas tanks. They wanted $20,000, me and Bob were trying to get together on that, $20,000 to pay for the machining and press dies. Then they want us to buy 300 gas tanks at $500 a piece. How many gas tanks do I sell a year? One or two. So I had Coy help me on this designing a aluminum gas tank, and I'm calling it a performance gas tank with a baffle in it, because that's a lot of weight. It's over 5 pounds a gallon. You got nearly 20 gallons in there, because this is a slightly bigger tank. So, but it fits right in with the same straps. It's a nightmare to make. I don't know what to do with these things. It's expensive to make these things. But some point in time, that's gonna be our only choice if this other thing doesn't go through. But what's the quality of them and how corrosion resistant are they? Are they coated on the inside or the outside? Yeah. Well, plastic tanks are ethanol proof. That's why they went with plastic tanks.
Well, there's ones for aircraft that do like JP4, which is basically.
Oh, carbon fiber, yeah, yeah.
They're using carbon fiber, fiberglass and that. and
Right.
So there's no weight penalty, obviously.
But even to make one of those, this stuff ain't cheap to do.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's expensive to make work. Yes?
So speaking gas tanks, so that's a 21 gallon tank, right?
Yeah.
So how come, I'm the
Yeah,
gas
it's a
station.
brochure. Who's got the brochure?
I'm the gas station filling it up and it cuts off way before 21.
That's right. Yeah. You
Wow.
can't get 21 gallons in it.
Yeah, I don't think I can get 14.
I don't know where they come up with that, but it must have been like air capacity, because you you can't get those things all the way full, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have an air gap
Yeah.
expansion. Those caps that are on there are pressure vent. They will vent, because when I'm pressure checking the aluminum tank that we're building, we're still in the prototype stage. That thing vents at like 2 or 3 PSI. Michael had problems with his venting, catching the back of the car on fire. It only takes 2 PSI for that to vent. So if you get that tank hot, and you got an exhaust system around it and all that, hot road, I hear my tank sometimes go honk. I heard it when I pulled in over here. And I thought, well, if I open that cap, it's gonna go So, and as they get emptier, they heat up quicker.
So it's normal what my car's doing then. I mean, like I said, probably 12 gallons is all I ever get in.
Ooh.
Maybe 13, I don't know.
It should be more than that. Oh, it might not be going all the way to empty. These gauges are not calibrated right up to the center, and we've got a tech article on that too. So, and I have run my car almost 50 miles on the thing sitting on empty. And
I don't
everybody,
trust my gauge, then you'll just will.
well, see, yeah, everybody says, my gauge is not working right, it bounces. I had a Mercedes with a video gauge, and they bounce. It tells you what's working. And if you're not hitting the bumps and you're not going around corners, that's a good thing. Now, modern gauges have, they first started out putting silicone, high viscosity silicone fluid in like General Luna's cars, balance flow gauges, and that's what this is. But with no silicone fluid, and it was dampened, so it slowly changed. You can still get a hard turn, get a little. Now, new electronic gauges, they have a slot module built into the electronics. I hate those things, because when I'm filling up my Lincoln, I have to turn the key off and turn it back on to get it to jump up to where it is. Because I just leave the key on, it fill up, and it's still on it.
Gauge is live to you on the new car.
Yeah.
Saw someone mention Mustang about
New
something,
gauge is on a new
but I don't
computer.
remember what was it.
They're
referenced
Tell
to.
you what you wanna see until something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
That red flag.
Ford for a while had some gauges that worked off a single contact pressure
Do you know what
switch.
time it is?
Normally they would turn on
Do you know
the
what
low
time it
pressure
is?
light. As soon as they would pressure
I
up,
wasn't
the
sure
gauge
how long
would
he was
go
gonna
wrong.
talk.
And if you lost oil pressure, it got below 5 PSI, it's gonna go down. Just
That's
instantly.
exactly what all
This
those.
is his forum right now.
They passed that off
He's
as a
getting the
regular
questions
gauge,
he
and that
likes.
was a lie.
He's got answers for it.
Bricklin has real gauges, they're balance coil, they're resistance based, so if that connector behind your dash, it's the same kind as on your steering column, I highly recommend taking a little Dremel with a wire brush, low speed, clean every one of those. And then you have to pull some polishing paper and slide it through the female contacts on the steering column and up in the dash, because that runs all the gauges. So if there's any resistance wrong in that gauge, it will read wrong. But most of the problems I see are from the senders, like the temperature sender going bad, which isn't too often, but the fuel senders are always going bad because of the ethanol killing. But I've actually dumped some in a evaporust and brought them back to play. So,
What I'm gonna share is, maybe all of you know this, but first time I ever drove my car in a high heat environment, and went to fill up my tank afterwards, it just spit it right back up. So if you ever have to drive in high heat, and you're gonna put gas in and let your tap stay open, go inside or do whatever, but give it some time.
you must have stuck that nozzle in fast.
And actually, I was coming out in the morning.
Yeah.
Swim?
In Vegas, I put in the gas, and next thing I know.
There's a
it was
pool?
all
What?
I'm gonna go swim in the
Yeah,
pool.
there is a pool?
Yeah, that's
Indoor,
why I always do
Oh,
bumpers in your.
I didn't see it.
If you don't, they're gonna
Have fun.
stay. And if they were painted in anything else, like a spray can, it's gonna take the paint off and stay in.
Too bad you get a chance to dissipate, just.
Acrylic hates gasoline, every one of these has probably got cracks around the fill area by the license plate, that's from the gasoline. You can't use paint thinner, you can use wax and grease remover, because that's safe for paint. You can use that to take grease spots and other things off the Bricklin, but do not use lacquer thinner or any kind of cleaning solvent.
What kind of thing?
It's wax and grease remover, it's a paint prep wax and grease remover before you, but Prepsol is one of the names. PBG has Shopline 101, that's the cheapest stuff they have, and it works good as expensive stuff.
Howard,
Uh-huh.
question right there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I heard you had mentioned the butane. Still make the gas. What's the workaround?
Here's my workaround, and I can't say do it because we could blow your house. Okay. So here's what I do. In August, before the cutoff date, I think it's August 25th or 30th or something. Somebody look that up.
For what?
What's the summer grade field cutoff?
Oh.
August is the hottest time of the year across the country. It's also based on your recent tip orders, probably just better gas than this time of year. Anyway, all the oil companies are gonna try and sell that winter grade gas as long as they can.
Hey, Howard, hold the microphone real close.
Oh, real close, okay. Where was it? Oh, yes. It's by region, I can hear it now. By region, Florida's gonna have better gas than St. Louis during that time of year to resist heat, basically. The cutoff date should be at the end of August. If anybody's got a cell phone, look up, summer grade gas cutoff, winter grade. It's May, huh?
It said September 15th.
September,
Yeah,
okay.
it said May 1st or May, June
Okay,
1st to September.
September 15th, so before the end of August, or now I can do it early September, I fill up a 55-gallon drum of regular gasoline, summer grade gas. And it has a pump on it. And I put it in a shed, so it's away from my garage, okay? So when I need gas for my Bricklin in the wintertime, and when you bring your Bricklin out in the wintertime up north?
Never.
What if you have a 70-degree day on Christmas Day? Some people put it in permanent storage, but remember I said drive these cars. So if it's hot out in December, I'm gonna go for a spin, so is everybody else in my whole area. There's nothing but classic cars running up and down the street, it's crazy. I'm gonna put that gas in.
The summer.
The summer gas.
What's the
Yeah.
workaround in summer with the summer gas? It's still.
Oh, it has low butane already, there is no workaround, it's good gas.
Okay, so I had trouble with that coming here.
Yeah, they're still got crappy gas for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with the gas I bought too. I'm disappointed in it.
No, I was running 93 and it really wasn't cooperating.
93 won't matter, 87 it won't matter, and it's butane content.
Okay, no, because I filled with that, ethanol.
What temperature was your car running?
It was 180 to 195.
Okay.
It had to have been boiling before the pump.
Where'd you see gas?
I got gas right on I came from Ohio, got it right on.
Was it Shell?
No, this was
Like a
Cherry Farm.
Yeah.
This was Rec 90 gas.
Well, that gas station we stopped at, what was that, the Lux truck stop?
Yeah.
The gas sucked, it was crappy.
Okay.
As soon as I put that gas in, I was having trouble passing people sometimes, because the rear bowl on the floor would boil, because there wasn't gas going into it, I was driving on the tuber, so as soon as I started passing it, then all of a sudden it would take off. And when it does that, you have to hold your foot to the floor and wait for the engine to recover and hope it does, because if you don't, you're gonna have it flooded, and fuel wash in your oil is what kills your oil. It destroys it. That's the number one cause of needing to change your oil is fuel contamination. So, and on these cars here in particular, that'll do it. So if you flood your car out 4 or 5 times, you might as well go home and change your oil and your gas. Put it in your lawnmower, go to your 55-gallon drum. So, but we have many warm days in the wintertime. And if I go to the gas station, put gas in it, I can't even drive to work. So, I don't know.
It was sprung, real good off the Rec 90, and then it was given, it was just bought. No, it was still the same thing, of ethanol free, yeah.
Oh, so you went from ethanol free to ethanol?
No, I went from 93 to Rec 90.
Well, the 93 gas might have better additives in it, and it might
As I say,
have.
it was burning real hot.
What is Rec 90?
Yeah.
What is Rec 90?
90 octane.
Oh, he's talking 93 octane, 90 octane.
Yeah, 93 is regular pump gas, yeah.
Yeah. And you can,
United was that free.
you can actually look up what the ingredients are in gasoline to meet the federal requirements for all these volatility laws. It comes from the EPA. So
Yeah,
you want to get rid of it.
on the Rec 90, it was running better off the jump, and then once it
Right.
got hotter, I guess.
Yeah, when it gets hot, but you gotta remember, you're heating up the whole fuel tank from all that driving from the heat off the road. Traffic jams, cars heat up because that road is really hot, you burn your feet on it if you're walking barefoot. So every car driving by is generating heat, and then the road is hot, and the air is hot, and you're not moving, and you're following the car too close in front of you, there's no air moving over your radiator, you got problems. So, and the underhood temperature skyrockets, there you go. So, also, non-overdrive cars do not have a locking converter. They generate more heat in the radiator. The faster you go, the more heat they go. The harder you drive it, the more heat goes in the radiator. I remember working for Ford with a Ford Taurus. If the solenoid went bad and when it went into overdrive and the torque converter didn't lock, it would overheat the engine. That's how much heat the transmission is generating. Unbelievable. So, overdrive transmission takes care of some of the cooling issues. But they're expensive, really expensive, and it's not authentic. So, it does make the car more drivable because back then, 65, 70, it was the best speed you'd go. Now everybody's going 80, 90 while they're texting.
Hey, Howard, here's a question here.
Yes.
Have you seen a high failure rate in solenoids and voltage regulators?
Which kind? Mechanical or electronic?
Electronic. Whatever you buy it.
The 74 cars use Motorola regulator and they fail constantly. I remember changing so many of those. The aftermarket ones are better. But they're still electronic. So who made them? How good are they? You just don't know. What province of China did they make it in? So now everybody's going to electronic regulators on the 75 models. Well, the mechanical regulators, not only are they adjustable, so you can adjust with voltage. Yeah, they were teaching us how to do this in automotive school. There's little screws on them. It's funny how many things you can adjust on these things. But the mechanical always seemed to work until something burned up the points.
How do you test those?
You can bench test them, but
Literally, how you can
Put it on the car.
voltage regulator?
we have the next to last Bricklin built in the shop right now. And it had 55 miles of it. Why? It makes it a collector's dream, but why on earth did this car only have 55 miles? Take a guess. Anybody?
It's in a collection forever.
What, say what?
It sat in a collection forever.
Not necessarily. There's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
It didn't run.
Wouldn't start.
You wouldn't believe this. Look on a 75, the wires going to the voltage regulator. Are they in a connector or are they just loose wires?
They're loose in a plastic connector. It's
Yep.
just, because I took my.
Guess what they did? The guys building the 76 cars weren't assembly line workers. They didn't know what they were doing. This car even had body mounts shimming up the fenders instead of shims. Okay, yeah, the doors didn't fit right and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff wrong. They put the speedometer, oh, this is the good one. The speedometer cable does not go in the hole that you think it goes in. It goes in the other hole. It isn't a hole.
I hate it when that happens.
And it ruined it. On this 76 car, they ruined the dash. I think when Bob C's car came in, his dash wouldn't fit. And it's because they put the speedometer cable in the wrong hole. There's a little like U-shaped thing, don't put it in that, you go over it. So, otherwise, it's pushing everything down. It ruined his dash on that 76 car, 55 miles. But anyway, on the voltage regulator, they flipped the terminals. Every time I hooked up, the battery died overnight when it came off the car carrier, a brand new battery. And I thought, well, that's weird, it's got a drain. So I hooked up the battery after charging it to test it, and I kept hearing a click under the hood. So I clicky, you know how you put a side terminal on, it goes clicky if something's turned on. So I had somebody touching the terminal on the battery with the cable, and I went under the hood, I go, I gotta figure out what this is. It was the voltage regulator. Voltage regulator was wired wrong, it was turning on all the time. There's a 4 amp draw on the alternator. As a matter of fact, when you turn the key on, if you want to test your alternator, stick a wrench up to the nut on the pulley. It'll stick to it. On both cars. Well, the AMC you have to get RPM, but the 75 and 76 cars, turn the key on. If that alternator field is energized, the regulator's working, you can stick the wrench to the front of it without starting the car. It's usually a good alternator. Isn't that funny?
That's simple.
Yeah, it's that simple. So, anyway, yeah, they can write diagnostic books and wire diagrams and all that. Why not just go out there and see if it's a magnetic field? That's what it is. It's a magnetic field. So, it works.
The stuff you learn.
Yeah. Anyway. There's lots of them. So, they wired the regulator backwards. It was turning the alternator on. 4 amps was coming out of that battery. Since the day it was born, the battery only lasted a couple hours after you shut it off. So that car was never able to be driven. Now there was another problem. Since it turned the alternator on, full fielded it, which means, did you know you can get 50 or 60 volts out of an alternator on a car? Absolutely. They turn it into a generator. Well, if there's nothing regulating it, regulator, that's what a regulator does. It regulates it at like 14.4 volts at the most. And that's in cold weather. They're temperature compensating, believe it or not. No electronics, no AI there. But so that's where the AI learns all this stuff from old school.
That's what
all the light bulbs went to 60 volts on the car, and every single light bulb was burned out on this little car. so here they had a 55-mile car that ran batteries in every night for 50 years, and light bulbs were all burned out, and all the electrical stuff was messed up on the car. That's why when collectors buy a low miles car, that's what they get. And so it sits in their collection, it looks real pretty. And all these low mile cars, you gotta watch it. You know, and sometimes they just sat there and rotted. And this car had all kinds of rotten cooling system stuff. It was a disaster. So, you know, tens of thousands of dollars later, on an already expensive car. So he doubled the price of the car. Yeah. So if you buy one like Steve Hill's driving around all the time, you just start up and drive home. Every 7 years, put a battery in it. Every 5 years, change the tires. Every 2 years, change the antifreeze. Right, Steve?
Oil.
Yep. But if you buy those low mileage collector cars that come out of the auction and stuff, oh my God. And restaurants, most of them aren't driving. You know, even though Chip Foose did it, and it looks good. They had a TV show on it. Every one of those cars has to go to somebody like me to straighten it out. And right now, there's not enough of us to go around, so that's where the video's going. So anyway, I don't see too many people leaving yet. This is really long. So hopefully I've helped you guys, you know, start thinking in the right direction with, you know, keeping your Bricklins alive and saving you time and trouble. Somebody got the volume control working.
What?
Well, you just got that. That's great. So anyway, I always have fun educating people. I've been around cars my whole entire